Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the free... Oh, fuck's sake. Well, I fucked that up already. I've got a... I changed the mic around. I took the pop guard off it, which means that the last time you'd have heard noises that are a bit annoying, like when I'd speak. Whereas now it's back on. But apparently it just fell off as I introduced the podcast. But fuck it. We're going to go with this rather than start again. So today, probably a bit more of a chilled one. I imagine I dance around, sometimes high energy, sometimes low energy, sometimes more warrior, sometimes more wizard, sometimes, more surface level, sometimes deeper conversation. It's not by design. It just apparently that's how this conversation happens. That's how it comes through. I don't plan it. I literally switch on this mic and I don't even know what I'm saying until I'm saying it. It's like as I'm saying the words, I'm observing them for myself. And if I'm judging them, then I'll usually judge them as shit. Or if I just shut up thinking, then it just comes out. And apparently people enjoy the podcast. So that's cool. And apparently clients pay me and continue turning up and people's lives keep changing and I keep enjoying it. So I keep turning up. You keep turning up. We're good. We're co-creating potentially something quite cool. So today, I've just been on the group call with the, I guess you call it the mastermind. I don't really know what it is. It's a group of people that we speak. We have these conversations, and rather than on a one-to-one basis, it's like a 1 to, 6 people. So I'm feeling pretty chilled after that conversation because we were talking largely around Zen, Buddha, the stillness within, and I'm going to repeat some of the parts of the conversation that I think were useful because you're probably seeing this on some level, I'm sure, that the more we think, the worse we tend to do. The more meaning we give something, not only are we normally further away from the truth, but the worse we tend to do. My first client earlier on, she couldn't make a decision. She's been things going around her head, this and that. I don't know. She doesn't. Conflicted was the word that came to mind, when I asked her about it. And by the end, she realized that if I don't know, I don't know. We tend to know yes, no, or I don't know yet. And not knowing isn't a problem. Not knowing is only a problem when you think you should know. If you don't know and you think you should, then it becomes a problem. If you don't know, then you don't know. The more comfortable we get with not knowing, the more comfortable we get, the better we tend to do, because we're all trying to plan our lives, predict our lives, goal set our lives. But when you look at your life, how much of it has actually gone exactly to plan? How often has it turned out different, turned out better, sometimes turned out worse, sometimes turned out worse but then ended up better? And it kind of just points to the question that, do we really need to know all the answers? Do we really have to have all of this figured out? Do we need to have everything figured out before we move forwards in a direction of something? Do we need to have it all figured out before we make a decision? Do we need to have it all figured out so that we can feel okay, not feel stressed? Do we have to know every possible problem that could go wrong and oversee everything that happens in our life before we can just chill the fuck out? Or is there a power in not knowing? Is there a power in saying, I don't know yet, and that's okay? I don't know, but I'm going to do this anyway. Or I don't know, but I'm going to go find out. Fuck it. Or I don't know, so therefore I'm not going to do anything. And as my client came to see by the end, she's like, I don't know. And I'm not really in a place right now. I'm not really in the headspace right now to be really making any decision. Cool. We could have just called it time there, honestly. Job done. See ya. Like, that in itself is a big enough insight to work from. Which made me speak about on the call earlier on, When you face real problems, have you ever noticed that everything goes quiet? I don't know if you've ever been driving and suddenly someone's on your side of the road and everything slows down and everything goes quiet as you do what you need to do in that moment. How you know? I don't know. You just do. You might notice that when someone's ill, when your kid's in hospital, or when something actually is happening that's actually problematic, suddenly all of your problems disappear. Everything seems dwarfed in comparison, small in comparison. You don't give a shit about the things that you did yesterday. You know, the moment you're in hospital, your kids are in hospital, you're in that moment of an actual problem happening, everything quietens down, everything slows down, and you do what you need to do without really thinking about it. It just gets done. Which starts to, again, make you think about the real problems don't actually require as much figuring out and thinking. So all the figuring out and the thinking, the analytical thinking, the overthinking, the worrying, the stress, the thinking back through the past, however this shows up for you, is it even useful? Does it help? One of my clients made me think of like Doctor Strange. I don't know if you watch Marvel films or not, but essentially Doctor Strange is in his head going through like millions of different possible outcomes to this current reality to work out if there's any chance of this plan actually working. It makes me think of some of my clients because that's what they're doing. They're going through the like million different possible outcomes in order to determine a solution to every potential problem that may or may not happen. And it's like, what if we don't actually need to do that? Because we don't have the ability of Doctor Strange. You're not actually seeing reality. You're seeing thoughts, thinking, assumptions, stories that aren't true. They're neither true or untrue. They're just thought. They're just thinking. They're just thinking taking the form of whatever it is you're thinking about. What if we stop looking to the thinking as our source of information, our source of intelligence, our source of wisdom, our source of knowing how to navigate our life? Sure, we can still use the gift of thought. Absolutely. Go for it. You know, sometimes it's useful. Sometimes it's not. It's your job to know when. But what if, instead of listening to my words, listen to the silence in between? Listen to the gaps. Listen to the gaps in between the words, not the words. Pay attention to the stillness. You might even do the same when you're thinking. Listen to the silence between your thoughts. Listen to the space that the thinking comes into. Because that stillness, that's where all Eastern philosophy is pointing. That's where spirituality is pointing. That's where Eckhart Tolle is pointing, or Buddha, or I don't know, pretty much everyone really. Everyone's saying the same thing in different words, right? That stillness is alive with information. It's alive with insight. It's in that moment of quiet that we have our best ideas, we have our best problem-solving ability. It's in those moments of silence that you can really see what problems are actually problems and what ones aren't. What problems have been blown out of proportion and what ones haven't. It's in that spaciousness, that stillness, that we work best. Free from thinking, free from the mental noise, free from the chatter. And I don't know if the thinking goes away. I don't know if the thinking actually disappears. I just think we're paying attention to the spaces in between, the silence in between. But what stops people doing this is because they still believe on some level that the thinking is actually useful. They really do need to worry because that stops them making mistakes. My question to that is, does it? Or does it make you so nervous that you actually make more mistakes? Or does it make you avoid the very thing that you... Well, does it make you avoid the thing? So, as an example, someone that doesn't drive the car because they're anxious that they might crash it. Yeah, okay, they That's true. Worrying about it stops them crashing the car because they don't drive it. But is that useful in your life when you can't drive anywhere because of a thought-created negative prediction that isn't fucking true? Like, is that useful? I'm not so sure. Thinking of all of the possible problems that could go wrong, or the business could go here or there, or this staff member could that or this, or is the thinking useful? It's something that I can't give you that answer. You get the answer yourself. You look in that direction for yourself. You either see it for yourself or you don't. And when you do, it doesn't mean you'll suddenly see it straight away, because at first it's weird, it's paradoxical, it's kind of contradictory, it doesn't make sense, yet it does make sense. It doesn't make sense, yet it works, yet it flies in the face of everything you've read and been told and seen on Instagram, and maybe even how you thought you lived your life up until this moment. But Eckhart Tolle, in one of his books, I don't know what one, is one of many people I've listened to over many years, but there's someone, I can't remember their name and I can't get it right even if I tried, but they said that the way you measure spiritual success is the degree to which you no longer think. Now, that's not true or untrue. They're just words, right? Let's not get kind of trapped in form, or the form of words. But it does make you think, ironically, what if that is true? Tolle then goes on to say, don't think. Now, I don't know if that lands for you, but that lands for me. Because it's very clear to me that the amount of bullshit thinking I have, arguing with what is, arguing with the present moment, telling me that things would be better if only, that this will go wrong and that will go wrong and this is okay but this, and, you know, looking forward, looking back, looking here, don't think. The same goes for trying to figure things out. I procrastinated a lot because I couldn't work it out. If I just didn't think about it and got on with it, I would know soon enough. I'd either make mistakes and learn, or I would get it right and learn, or I would get halfway through and realise that this isn't it, or I don't like it, or I don't want to do this anymore, or I'd get halfway through and say, this is fucking epic. I don't know. There is no way of knowing until I do it. But one thing is for sure is I'd never find out if I didn't do it, because I was caught in my thinking, which made it overwhelming, which made me procrastinate and not get on with anything. It's like, I give all these different examples because if I come at this from different angles, you will recognize your own experience in this. You'll recognize and have your own insights around, wow, yeah, that I do that. Don't think. Like, what do you actually think would happen if you just didn't think about stuff? And the stuff that you need to do, you'll notice just gets done. Almost like you're doing it and you don't even know how or when or why. You're just doing it because it gets done. If it's important, it gets done. If it isn't, it doesn't. What if it's that simple? What if it literally is that simple? We do that which needs doing. We don't do that which don't. Things that aren't important, they get done when they become important. You know, like you may have had it where you need to get your passport. You don't. You keep leaving it, and eventually you can't leave it anymore, and then you do it. Well, you can beat yourself up about that. Oh, for fuck's sake, I'm so unorganized and blah, blah, blah. Or you can just recognize that it wasn't important until it was. Took me months to ring Sky. And I said to her, it's been shit since we moved. And she said, oh, you moved house then? I was like, months ago. Just took me a long time to phone. It wasn't important until it was important. That's all. And things that are important get done. I didn't know I was doing this podcast until I was doing this podcast. And now apparently I'm doing it. Here it is. Hello. Like, so much of my life, maybe yours, just... it's like it's happening whether you like it or not. It's there whether you like it or not. You know, things appear when they appear. You have kids when you have kids. It may have not been the right time, or maybe it was, but mostly they just happen, and then they're happening, and then one day they are there. They exist in your world, and there you are. You know, one day your business is here, and you don't know at what point it become this big? Or at what point you stop worrying about money? Or at what point you stop worrying about this, that, and the other? Or, you can fill in the blanks there because you've all got unique, different situations. I talk about business because that's the world I know. But this is universal to all humans. As long as you are a human and you have a brain and you think, then this is true for you. So I'm over egging the pudding here. I'm gonna wrap this up, but I just want you to play with the thought process of what would happen if you thought less? What would happen if you worried less? What would happen if you predicted less? What would happen if you stopped going into the future to create negative predictions? What would happen if you stopped going into the future to predict positive futures? I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't. I'm just saying what would happen. What would happen if you stopped pretending you knew humans better than they know themselves, or you stopped making stories around why they did or didn't do something, or you stopped assuming you knew why. You stopped creating stories around that. What would happen if you stopped thinking about how this moment would only be better if insert the blank? Those thought trains to nowhere, those thought trains that take us away from the present moment, away from the enjoyment of life. What would happen if you didn't think? What do you think would happen? I see the irony there. What do you think would happen? Would you become a couch potato that is motivated by nothing and achieves nothing? Would nothing matter anymore, so why fucking bother? Or would you have 100% of your capacity to do the things you want to do, the things that need doing, because the rest of your brain would now be freed up, rather than working on a 5% capacity because 95% of your head is busy elsewhere doing a million other things and thinking about other shit? Would that happen? I know the answer to this, by the way, but you're going to have to find it for yourself because that's how this works. Would you still find yourself doing the things that need doing? Would you feel more motivated? Would you be getting the stuff done from inspiration, creativity, joy, just getting it done, whether you felt like it or not? Would it just be happening? But you would have more spaciousness and stillness and capacity to be in the moment, to actually enjoy it, to have the capacity to deal with it better. Would you make better decisions? Would you have more clarity? Could you do more? Could you do more even though it feels like you're doing less? Could you achieve more even though you've slowed down? Could you slow down to the pace of life and enjoy life more, yet somehow everything is still moving? I personally know the answer to that. My clients also know the answer to that. Because you'll find that the plates that you thought you were spinning were just mirages anyway. They're not real. Some of the ones that are important to you, they apparently spin themselves. Who knew? And the ones that smash, you'll realize you didn't give a fuck about anyway. Didn't even like that plate. Fuck that plate. Shit anyway. And here are the plates that I care about. You might find yourself back at this place of simplicity. Life is very, very simple. Annoyingly simple. I've been doing this a long time now, and I am still face-palming myself at the simplicity because I don't see it until I see it. And I'm not telling you that I'm at the end. Like, look at me. I am, I don't know, some monk in a monastery that knows everything. No, that's not the way this works. I'm saying I'm seeing this more and more each day, the same way that you are if you're in this conversation. But I think we probably wrap it up there. I think we wrap it up. I think there's plenty to sit with. There's plenty to playfully think about. And just, maybe just for now, the next hour, the next 10 minutes, or the next day, play with the idea of all the words, don't think. When thoughts come up, wonder, is this useful? Is this helping? If something comes up that you don't think is useful, you can consider, do I need to think about that? Do I need to think about that? Let me know how you get on. Find a way of, whether you're on my email list, whether you're on social, I don't know. Find a way, because I love hearing it. I really do. Anyway, let's leave it there. Thank you for listening as always. If you haven't left a review on iTunes, then please do. I don't think you can review anywhere else. Comments on SoundCloud are cool. And share this as well if you think this would be useful for anyone else. I'm telling you, it would be useful for basically every single person that listens to it. But I'll let you decide if this is something that worthy of sharing. Anyway, I appreciate you listening. I hope you got something from this. I will speak to you soon.